Meet Jay Dobyns, a policeman who infiltrated the Hells Angels, becoming a member, and lived for his mission.
And so I was gonna get that patch or die trying.
A veteran undercover operative with the United States ATF, Jay Dobyns became one of them.
They had never been infiltrated by law enforcement.
This wasn't just an undercover operation. It was a 2-year walk on the razor's edge. Jay immersed himself in one of the most feared and secretive outlaw motorcycle gangs on the planet, the Hells Angels. He earned their trust, witnessed their darkest secrets, and navigated a world where a single misstep could mean certain death.
And I told the Hells Angels, there's a Mongol in Mexico who's running his mouth. He says he was at the Laughlin riot. He says that he's going to start running methamphetamine right up out of Mexico into Arizona, right into Sonny Barger's backyard, and there's nothing any of us can do about it.
Jay went to unimaginable lengths to prove he was the real deal.
I want to go kill him.
Even staging a gruesome murder to sell his cover story, convincing the Angels that he wasn't just playing the part, he was the part. This is Jay Dobyns' journey into the underworld of the Hells Angels, the only law enforcement officer ever to infiltrate the Angels and to become a member of their ranks.
In the early days of the Hells Angels, like well before I was around, there was a brotherhood that was built on simplicity. It was built on the love of motorcycles and riding together and the brotherhood of it. And what happens in criminal organizations is pride and ego and greed. And pride and ego and greed will betray you, and it will leave you with nothing.
This is Biker History with Magnus. But before we begin, remember to hit that subscribe button and put on all notifications so you don't miss my next biker video. Operation Black Biscuit, a daring ATF undercover mission designed to infiltrate the Arizona Hells Angels. Joe Slatala from the ATF's Phoenix office devised an intricate plan. They created a fake chapter of a real Mexican outlaw biker gang, the Solo Angeles Motorcycle Club, entirely made up of undercover agents and informants. Their goal: forge an alliance with Hells Angels and gather damning evidence. It all started on April 26, 2002, with the Laughlin riot. A crowded Laughlin, Nevada casino turned a regular day into a battlefield as the Hells Angels clashed with their arch-rivals, the Mongols.
Many shots were fired.
Innocent bystanders watched in horror as a violent brawl erupted, leaving 3 people dead.
One of the Mongols fires twice into an Angel's back. He goes down.
And sparking a federal investigation that would go down in history. Dobyns assumed the alias Jay Davis for his undercover assignment. He was joined by a team comprising Phoenix police officer Billy Long, who acted as his enforcer, Carlos Canino, a Puerto Rico ATF agent who portrayed a Mexican drug dealer seeking revenge after being swindled by a Colombian cartel, and a career criminal and ATF informant known as Pops, who committed crimes the undercover agents couldn't directly execute.
The first time that I was in the presence of the Hells Angels was at a party, an outdoor party, and it was an easy opportunity for me to lay out my cover story. I explained to them how I did debt collections for organized crime.
Dobyns later recounted the importance of their initial encounter. I think they liked the fact that we respected the protocol. Posing as a gun runner and debt collector, Dobyns claimed that the Solo Angeles was interested in aligning with the Hells Angels. In late July 2002, at a biker rally, Hells Angels member Kramer introduced Dobyns and his team, posing as Solo Angeles members, to Dennis Denbeston of the Angels Nomad Arizona chapter. All the supposed Solo Angeles members were law enforcement officers working undercover. Dobyns told McKay, a Hells Angels member, that he had been hired to assault a playboy in debt to a Las Vegas casino and invited McKay to join him. Together, they confronted Eric Rutland, an undercover ATF agent playing the role of the debtor, At a Waffle House restaurant in Tucson, Dobyns paid McKay $200 simply for attending the meeting.
Together, we met the target of our collection. He would take his watch, take his rings, take his money, take his car keys, all with the help, the presence, the appearance of the Hells Angels there with me. What he didn't know is the collection we'd made was from another agent, because our audience was that Hells Angel that was sitting across the table from our performance.
Following this encounter, Dobyns found himself inundated with offers from Hells Angels members eager to participate in his debt collection work. Afterward, Johnson, another Hells Angels member, informed Kramer that the Solo Angeles were now authorized to traffic narcotics in Arizona with the support of the Hells Angels.
So the way that was interpreted from the Hells Angels' point of view was huge for my credibility.
George Walters, a member of the Hells Angels Skull Valley chapter, met with Dobyns to present him with a tab for his biker vest, signifying the Solo Angeles official affiliation with the chapter. This marked their acceptance into the Hells Angels operations, allowing them to conduct business under their protection. However, suspicions about Dobyns arose shortly after. At a party, the Angels offered Dobyns an 18-year-old girl as a gift, but he declined. This sparked rumors about his sexuality, as being gay was stigmatized in the biker subculture. To dispel these doubts, Dobyns requested that his superiors assign a female ATF agent to pose as his girlfriend. Jenna McGuire was recruited for this role, assuming the identity of Genevieve. She joined Dobyns at the Inferno Bar in Bullhead to meet Hells Angels member Smith and his wife, Lydia, as his new romantic partner. When Smith suggested that McGuire appear in a wet t-shirt contest with half of her winnings to go to him, McGuire shot back with much anger.
I'm not showing my tits in some wet t-shirt contest so you can put money in your pocket.
Dobyns later commented, she wasn't going to be some barstool whore. She conducted herself with dignity. Dobyns became sufficiently well accepted that he was allowed to bring his guns into the Hells Angels clubhouses, which non-members are not normally allowed to do. Nevertheless, an informer in the Phoenix Hells Angels chapter had learned that Robert Chico Mora, the president of the Angels Phoenix chapter, had decided to kill the entire Solo Angeles chapter. He didn't believe they were a real biker club, but rather that they were law enforcement, something that was 100% true. Mora had done a background check and discovered that the real Solo Angeles in California had never heard of the Arizona chapter, and that Dobyns had never been to Tijuana, the headquarters of the Solo Angeles. Dobyns met with Johnson to deny Mora's allegations, which he rebutted by showing Johnson a photograph of him at a Solo Angeles run in California, along with another photo of him standing behind a Solo Angeles leader during a television interview. But Johnson from the leadership of the Angels was convinced that they were real and phoned Mora to tell him to stand down. With this coming from the top of the club, there was little Mora could do. During a visit to Smith, his hosts suggested to Dobyns that he patch over to join the Hells Angels. Dobyns was so widely accepted by the Hells Angels that at a party at the clubhouse of the Cave Creek chapter, he met Sonny Barger, the leader of the Hells Angels. Smith told a secretly bemused Dobyns about how the Sons of Silence had been smashed by the ATF in 1999 due to an undercover agent, and told him that such an infiltration would never happen to the Angels. Despite his acceptance by the Hells Angels, Dobyns noted that the Angels were always paranoid about the possibility of an undercover policeman in their ranks, and on one occasion had a gun pointed to his head and told to strip to prove that he was not wearing a wire. Dobyns was investigated 3 times by private detectives hired by the Hells Angels, but each time the private detectives stated that Dobyns really was Jay Davis, gunrunner and drug dealer. To spend time with his children, Dobyns told the Angels he was divorced, and that his ex-wife only allowed his children to visit him occasionally to explain why they never met his children. In Tucson, Dobyns was leaving a guitar shop with his 12-year-old daughter, Dale, when he bumped into Robert McKay, the the president of the Hells Angels Tucson chapter, on the street. Dobyns whispered to Dale, "Go along with what I say." After the meeting ended, Dobyns thanked his daughter for her role-playing. In May 2003, Dobyns became a prospect with the Skull Valley chapter, the second level in an outlaw biker club. The Skull Valley chapter had fallen down to 4 members, and Hells Angels rules state that a chapter must have 6 members at all times or lose its charter. Teddy Toth, the president of the Skull Valley chapter, was desperate to take in new members to keep his chapter going, hence his willingness to place Dobyns and the other solo Angeles on the fast track to join his chapter.
At that time, the 55 or 60-year history of the Hells Angels, they had never been infiltrated by law enforcement. They had sources from inside that gave information. They had members who flipped and ratted on the club from the inside out, but a cop had never gotten in to their gang. And so I was gonna get that patch or die trying.
To solidify his credibility and earn his patch, Dobyns orchestrated an elaborate ruse, the staged murder of a rival Mongol's biker.
And I told the Hells Angels, there's a Mongol in Mexico who's running his mouth. He says he was at the Laughlin riot. He says that he's gonna start running methamphetamine right up out of Mexico into Arizona, right into Sonny Barger's backyard, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. I want to go kill him.
In a chilling display, a law enforcement officer impersonating the Mongol was doused in lamb blood and brains, then posed for photos and videos lying in a shallow grave.
We took a living, breathing member of our task force. We dressed him up in a Mongol vest, drug him out to the desert, duct taped his hands and feet together, gagged him, dug a shallow grave. We used cow blood and cow parts to make it look like his head had been beaten in and he'd been shot in the head.
Along with the grisly details of the fake murder, he provided a videotape and photographs of the supposed killing, getting approval by the impressed Angels leaders Toth and Rienstra.
And one of the Hells Angels took his vest off. He put it on my back. He put it over my shoulders. He said, "Welcome to the Hells Angels. You're a member now. You're a Hells Angel. Wear that vest."
Walters, another Hells Angels leader, told Dobyns that the solo Angelus would officially align with the Hells Angels in August 2003 with the endorsement of the club's iconic leader, Sonny Barger. According to Dobyns and the ATF, the Hells Angels leadership voted him in as a full-patched member just 2 days after the staged killing, bypassing the typical year-long probation period for prospects. However, the Skull Valley chapter, which awarded Dobyns his vest, along with Sonny Barger himself, have fiercely denied that Dobyns was ever officially patched in. On July 8, 2003, the curtain fell on Operation Black Biscuit, culminating in the arrest of numerous Hells Angels members.
Black Biscuit ended in a very traditional way. It involved raids and a roundup and search warrants and arrests. We had 50-plus people ready to be indicted. The Hells Angels learned that Jay Davis, the gun runner, debt collector, hitman, was actually Jay Dobyns, the federal agent.
To ensure their safety, Dobyns and his family were immediately relocated out of Arizona during the raids. The Hells Angels retaliated online, posting photos of Dobyns and the fake solo Angeles chapter under the banner, Arizona Rats, accompanied by a chilling message. Hope all is well. Snitches are a dying breed. Get it? In 2005, the threat escalated further when the Hells Angels reportedly placed a contract on Dobyns' life with the Aryan Brotherhood, forcing him and his family to relocate yet again. Although the Black Biscuit investigation was deemed successful by ATF and yielded numerous criminal indictments for RICO violations and other felony charges, internal government disagreement ultimately led to some of the primary defendants receiving reduced sentences or having their charges dropped. On February 17, 2006, The majority of the Hells Angels charged in Operation Black Biscuit made plea bargains, where they pledged guilty to lesser charges in exchange for the RICO charges being dropped. Johnson told the media after his plea bargain that Dobyns and the others were damned good actors. Mora, the Hells Angel who accused Dobyns of being an undercover policeman, was convicted of the possession of weapons forbidden to a felon. On August 10, 2008, Dobyns' residence was the target of a late-night arson attack while his wife and 2 children were asleep inside. They escaped with only smoke inhalation injuries, but the ensuing fire destroyed the home and most of the family's belongings. Dobyns has received several medals for his work and became a best-selling author and has participated in several film and TV productions about his time as an undercover agent. Dobyns, whom I have watched many videos about to make this presentation, likes to brag about his work and how much he achieved. So it's possible that he now makes the story and his own importance in it taller than it really was. Remember to hit that subscribe button and put on all notifications. And thank you for holding on all the way to the end.